and invited the guy. So it's kind of fun. Okay.
I've started recording, but I'll try to add presenter mode to people who come on.
All right, sounds good.
For feedback. But yeah, if you're ready, we can go ahead and get started, John.
Yeah. So I was kind of reflecting on my journey as a software user, especially over the many years. And started off in the 80s with an Apple IIe computer. That was the second version of Apple computers, and then the E model of it. That was probably quite expensive for my parents to buy that. All text-based and everything. So yeah. When I was a kid, my brother and I would do some programming, and we actually got Santa to fly across the screen. That was so cool. And back then, we had adventure books that you could had programming in it. You had to program. Didn't have a hard drive yet, but that eventually came to computers. We had to do enough reading to get a colored monitor at 256 colors. Like, that was awesome. I remember there's a Tom Sawyer game we used to play with that. That one. You got modems, you got mouse, CD burners, all these little technological things that kind of came new and then became pretty standard. Because when I was in high school, I knew a guy who had a CD burner, and then they became every computer, and now they're gone. So, but then when I was at college in '95 up at Weber State, I saw an international chess game, real time, played between two countries. And I thought that was so cool. Then you had email and video chats now, and you just keep moving with stuff, right? And then we go to mobile, the mobile revolution. You had a computer in your pocket, right? You kind of had the start of a personal assistant there. I got an iPod Touch, and I was just amazed at the possibilities you could do with that. Having that thing just follow you around and stuff. And now we have step counters and exercise apps, that use a lot of those mobile features, among many other things. And now we go to AI. So I was actually in a pretty bad bike wreck about 4 weeks ago, and ended up going to Instacare to get the x-ray and using ChatGPT to, check my symptoms and stuff and kind of give me ideas what to do. We have enough knowledge that we can do that, but it'd probably save me thousands of dollars rather than going to the ER and then using it for physical therapy now. But then you have coding assistants. So we did, it was a year or so ago, we tried to do one with my kids and I, a year and a half ago probably, of make a hangman game, and it did not go very well. And now, you just give it a prompt, it'll make an app for you. And then at some point, we're going to get to artificial general intelligence, where these things can just go do anything without being trained more. And remember, these things all started pretty simply. So we went from early PCs to high-end gaming. I don't know if anyone here ever used Gopher. It's all text-based, and you had to query a web. There wasn't really a web page, but it was a website. You query that, and then now we have cloud. Then you can just deploy things to. It's amazing, and you can do remote video chats. The iPod Touch to high-end phones and watches now. And then hallucinating AI to what? I don't know. I watched a presentation today about multiplying cancer researchers, basically giving them a lot of leverage with their time and whatnot. But what does this mean for us as software engineers? So photography, we went from primitive cameras, very, very specialized, to all these different types of cameras, film cameras. I don't know how many of you have used film cameras. They're expensive because you have to go, you only take so many pictures, and then you have to get them developed, and then you finally saw what pictures you took. And you have to wait for that whole roll of film to go. So it might be a couple of weeks before you saw, or longer before you saw your pictures finally. And if you could easily ruin that film too. And now photography is a hobby, but there's still a lot of professional photographers that do very well with things. And even videographers. So that job is kind of expanded with all these different things. So let's talk about the stages of AI coding. Autocomplete. That's handy. I remember you'd have to do a job interview without autocomplete. Oh, it's 10 times as hard. But we'd have to remember everything. Now that actually made it a lot easier to code. And then recently, like I did a Advent of Code last December, and it would offer me whole functions in Visual Studio Code. That was interesting. And then we moved to tasks. Let's do something bigger. Write some tests for this code. Fix this bug. And the context matters a lot. So now you have like Gemini and whatnot, well, in context. And also Copilot will do it too, if you're in the Edge browser. Take that context of what error you're seeing and tell you about that error and how to fix it. Vibe coding. So yesterday I was like, or maybe a couple days ago, I was like, I'm going to make a meal planner app. Half an hour. And that was because I kept giving it more and more specifications. Okay, easy, medium, hard. These are the meals I want. And I'm actually using this ChatGPT for that personally. And to have better meals and stuff, and healthier and cheaper and things we have. But you can write an app like that super fast. It's great for prototyping hobbies. And you can even say, hey, go make me some thing using this new technology here and stuff. So I was wondering if people are going to actually start using this to make like Minecraft mods or something, or different games. Because it can be a relatively small code base that you don't have to spend too much maintaining. Maybe, I don't know. And then how's this going to change API usage? Because if you can have people just writing these apps, like just hobby apps, is that going to change how they interact with different websites and stuff? Do you have a public API and whatnot? Or do you have to have an account? And what are people going to do with that? And then you go to agents. So now you become a manager of agents or kind of an architect, and you go to spec-driven development. It's a term I learned today. So there was a recent report called the DX report. They interviewed, it's a company that does a bunch of this, interviewed different companies, and it's like 22,000 developers or something. They said the adoption rate is over 90% for engineers, and that's because 8% was unknown and 2% said no. Juniors use it more, but staff plus engineers save more hours from it. Now everyone can contribute through vibe coding to some degree. Like you can prototype. I had one job where the CEO wanted this one feature, and it's really, she was the customer, and that's fine. But every week we'd have a different prototype for her. Yeah, we can do that super fast now. I can do that in an hour instead of like 8 weeks. It's an hour. Okay, this is what you want. Okay, now we can actually go build it for real. The next one is really interesting. The time to 10 PRs has gone from 86 days to 39 days in the last 2 years, less than 2 years. So people are getting onboarded a lot faster. And there's this term shadow AI where people are going and circumventing what AI the company is officially supporting. And this has some security issues too, because people might be putting customer data in there, which is a big no-no. Small companies are using this more than large ones. And you still spend a lot more time in meetings than time you actually save with AI right now. So I thought that was kind of funny. So here are some predictions. And I don't hear if you guys have any predictions either, that I missed here. But AI, it's going to keep moving up the career ladder. It's a junior engineer right now. It's going to move up to normal, then senior staff, I don't know, over time. Some will be very slow to adopt. So like my son, I mentioned, he works for the government. They can't use AI. So it doesn't have any much documentation or training data. You won't be able to do well. So on that report, it said Golang saved more time than COBOL, twice as much time. And then there's some security concerns with sharing data, potentially insecure code, stuff like that. But AI will be used to measure our productivity. I think that's just going to come, whether we like it or not. And actual practices will evolve. Yeah, I mean, we have Scrum right now, but how's that going to change as this stuff evolves? Are we going to have self-healing systems where it can see an error and then fix it and then redeploy? That's going to be interesting. And then tokens are just going to become so much cheaper. And wearable AI is probably coming soon from OpenAI. They have and Johnny Ive working on that right now. And they're going to have something soon. What's the interface we're using for AI? Different
Hey, John,
models.
I've got a quick question about the previous slide.
Sure.
Can you explain that tokens, the second to last one? What do you mean by tokens become much cheaper?
So right now you have to pay for tokens to do tasks. And companies will pay a lot of money to buy more tokens for them, people to be able to do more complex tasks. That's basically what the AI, like how much time the AI has to spend on your different tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember back in the day where we had mobile minutes?
Yep.
Yeah. And very limited data plans and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe the higher models will have that. I don't know. But they've come down in cost quite a lot. And one thing I like to point out too, it's kind of funny, is I hate paying for things. It took me years and years to buy a cell phone. I actually didn't pay for the internet separately as a bill until 10 years after I first used the internet. But I'm paying for 3 models right now. So because it's just happening so quickly. And the time to learn this stuff is just so quick. So this was interesting on that DX survey. So Cursor actually saved people the most time, and then Claude, and then Copilot. And then you also have AI Studio, which is interesting because you couldn't import projects on there. I was playing around with that the other day. I know some people here use Cursor and Claude, right? And Copilot.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're not perfect, but they learn so quickly. Are any other tools people are using here?
So I use a mishmash of different tools. So using Copilot with access to a bunch of different models, from different ChatGPT models to some Claude models to a Gemini version, as well as using Gemini directly inside of Android Studio. I think for me, the one that's most exciting isn't necessarily the model, but the platforms, the web agents, where you can give it a task and walk away and then come back to it after it's run for potentially hours or even a day, and then process the results that way.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the old comic with for XKCD where they're sword fighting on chairs, and it's the code's compiling, but now it's the model's thinking, right? Or the agent's doing its thing. Now it's kind of changed, but you can do that multiple at the same time, right? So
yeah, I mean the chance to multitask when you have these semi-autonomous agents that are working in that space, like having it go through and take care of tech debt or other things that are well-defined patterns. We know what's going on. Just being able to say, hey, go and do this. Here's how I want you to solve this problem. Here's how I want you to go through that process. And while it's doing that, I can go and work on the newer problems or the more fun ones that are, require me to actually think and do things, and work with the AI assistant on those.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't had a well-defined backlog for a while, so I haven't tried that very well much. So, what have you tried, Michael? Either Michael?
I personally just aware that I need to figure out this out. All I've done really is what comes in Android Studio, the Gemini, whatever ships with it. So I know there's a whole world out there that I've got to start figuring out, like Claude, GPT, ChatGPT, Claude. No, I haven't used any of those yet.
Yeah, I know you heard earlier. I was in a bike accident and I started using it heavily for a lot of things. Super handy. But yeah, even building this presentation, I do candidate interviews and write articles on them. I was using it for that. Interview prep. My wife actually was using interview prep before I was, and I asked my aunt. She's fairly old and lives up in Canada, and oh yeah, I'm using it for to help my students buy used pianos. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so many different things. Or summarize documents. That's super helpful. But yeah, just those tools, and then you have all the coding tools too. But we'll get into some of those things that you can do. Here's some things that I listed what you can do. Write code, fix bugs, write tests. Tests are a really helpful one. Documentation. So one of the big blockers for a lot of companies with integrating AI stuff is poor documentation, or conflicting documentation, outdated documentation, because that's how the internal models will learn, like not just for software, but for the whole company, it's the documentation. But it'll go and help you clean that up and even document your code pretty well. Prototyping, that's going to be a big one. Because I was talking to a designer several years ago, and he wanted to be able to go and try tweaking different colors for different things. Okay. I mean, that becomes a lot more accessible to him. So now it's everyone joining in. Learning a code base. I got a really good prompt from someone on how to learn a code base. And so, yeah, I'll have to try that out with, I kind of want to run some of these on my old Java Android code. Be fun. And then even creating new examples, like examples. Oh, I want to understand this concept better. Go create an example for me, and probably do that. What else are people using it for? Did I cover everything?
I use a lot to keep up to date. So I have basically a bunch of sites with RSS feeds that I track to stay up to date with library updates, other things, and then being able to feed that to an AI and say, hey, just give me the summary of the key things I need to know.
So that's the new interface, right?
Yeah. There's just so much.
And it can be AI talking to AI. So one thing I noticed with politics is people are using it for voting. And so this next cycle, you're going to see a lot of AI consultants going and helping people figure out how to clean up their profiles. Because, like, for example, it doesn't like video as much as it likes text, especially for some of the lower key races. You might have people paying more attention to that. But yeah, like text stuff, it likes a lot better, especially if it's recent, during a campaign and stuff. It'll process that a lot faster. Yeah, but yeah, keep you up to date with stuff too. Yeah, getting a good summary of things. So, and this is, Michael, you mentioned you haven't used it yet, but this is what I suggest people do. Just try it out, come up with a side project, having that beginner's mind there. Start with small things you can verify, have it write tests for you, record what works and what needs to be adjusted. But yeah, having that beginner's mind of, I don't know what this is capable of. I'm going to try asking that. And you can undo stuff pretty easily. If that's not the direction you want to go, but yeah. And then, yeah, record what works. But other best practices. So my wife, I mentioned she's doing internal auditing. She was at a thing yesterday and they were talking about a fire department in Utah where the board did not have proper oversight over the fire department, and the chief misused hundreds of thousands of dollars for his own personal benefit. and he was later fired, and the deputy chief was also fired, and a couple other people. But we're the board. We're that governance right now. We are the ones who need to make sure this is correct. We're accountable for it. So right now, a lot of people are saying they're seeing a lot of this AI code and vibe coding type stuff coming in to like open source projects, and it's putting a real strain on people reviewing code. So that's kind of an interesting development there. And what's going to happen with that? Is vibe coding going to get better? Oh yeah, it will. But are you going to be able to automate more of that, the code checks? I don't know. You can kind of get this. Here's my code that's totally AI generated, and here's a project that's not. So I asked someone years ago how they maintain code in Perl, and he says, I just rewrite it. I thought it was kind of funny, but now you can just do that from a prompt. You can set style guides, or say, look at this file here and copy this style here. I noticed when I was doing it for tests, it would sometimes do these really totally different ways for tests. So I'd have to like tell it to use specific things. But even when I write political articles, I can tell it, hey, go read all my other articles and use the same style. And it kind of trains itself that way. I thought it was kind of an interesting thing to do. But I just give notes and whatnot, and then have to edit it, sometimes a whole bunch. But you can ask it for a plan. Different tools will give you more of a plan and show you the steps they're doing more than others. I found Cursor to be pretty good with that one, what it's doing. But it moves really quickly too, so try to keep up. But you can ask questions, why it chose this, why it chose that. But yeah, use static tools like lint and detect and stuff, and security scans, and actually go and fix your warnings in security scans so people believe them, believe the results. That's a good way to kind of keep track of things and get yourself trouble. But those are only secondary. Primarily, still a human reviewer. Don't rely on those too much. And then learn from others. Like come to a meetup like this or Slack stuff. Share prompts, share patterns that you learn. Learn a lot faster that way. One thing I found interesting too, I was doing something with a list where I had to check off items in the list and then it would move it down to the bottom and done pile. But it would scroll. And I ended up finding the solution by linking Cursor to the article. I think it was like a Medium article or something that had the answer where someone explained the details of it. And that was super helpful. And so, because I tried like so many different times to get it to work and it wouldn't work. I said, oh, yeah, here's the solution here. Okay. And it wouldn't implement it. I think Slack had to do a bit, but yeah. What else are you guys seeing as far as best practices?
So one thing about learning to use AI more, one of the things, or a couple of things that I recommend doing. First off is take a task that you can do yourself, do it, and then shelve those changes. Then have AI do that task. And that can either help you build confidence in your prompting skills that, hey, I can get it to do how I want it to do it. Or it's like, oh, I didn't see these things in comparing the two solutions. Or, wow, this model really sucks. I need to find a different model or look at a better way of prompting, things like that. It's a really good way to learn how AI codes, how different models interact, and compare what you do versus what it does. The second thing I recommend is to vibe code in a different language, something you don't normally write in. And it's a really great way to learn how to prompt better, how to ask for how to do things, how to style code that way, or working with the AI and learning capabilities, limitations, things like that. And it's a fun one, especially you can just find a fun, simple, or even not so simple project that you can do things with. The plan thing, like that one's huge. So with some of the models, we're limited on how many tokens we can use or how much we can use in a month or whatever our companies pay or what we pay. And you'll generally have a less powerful model that's cheaper that you can do a lot more with, but it's not as capable as the prime time or premier models. Having that AI start out with hey, you like planning out software tasks. You're really good at identifying what things need to happen next or what are the paths to complete this task, and have it generate a markdown plan. And then have come back, refresh that context using the plan, implement the first step, and then have the AI, fix anything, then implement the next step, and kind of resetting that. I found that gives, like, you can get as good of, if not better, results from just trying to have the bigger model just do everything in one go versus just breaking it down in those steps. And that transfers to any model. And so using those plans helps you have more of an agentic system where you can have the AI focus on just one task and it can do it really, really well. So I call those task plans, and they're a ton of fun. I hold on to a bunch of them just to keep track of, hey, here's the task plan I'm working on or whatever. Here it is. And having like AI use emoji to mark it's complete or whatever is really helpful. Utilizing instruction files, profiles, rules, anything to help give the AI context and direction to narrow down that scope of, because it knows basically everything ever published. That's a lot for it to sift through. And if we can help the AI narrow that scope and focus in, you can get a lot done with these smaller models or get things done faster with less of it having to iterate through a bunch of different options and figure out, hey, percentage wise, this isn't most likely what they're asking about. So
it sounds like you're saying you have a higher paid architect that you go to for the plan, and then you have a bunch of junior engineers go implement it.
kind of.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But I mean, the nice thing is the AI can fill all these different roles. It's hard for an AI to do a bunch of these tasks, do architect and code and test and do all that at one go. And so if you can have the AI just do the architecture step. All right, now just do this type of coding step. Now do the testing step. Now do this type of coding step. You get better results. And what's interesting is with the newer agentic systems, that's what it's doing anyway. It starts with a planner, is the best way I can describe it. It's an agent that's really good at planning or really good at identifying, hey, what other agents do I need? Like, what's the task? And then what agents do I need to complete these tasks? And then it breaks it off and has different agents do each step just to get more powerful, better results that way.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, good to hear that. Yeah, I haven't done anything with agents yet, but it totally makes sense to do it that way. So what to do next to stay relevant? Because this is the time we got to get on this stuff, or you're going to fall further behind. Embrace the change. Who moved my cheese, right? This is where the new things are. So go and embrace it. Try doing these for your own personal stuff. So years ago, I saw mobile and I thought, well, I don't want to buy a Mac, so I'll do Android. Got myself a Motorola Zoom at Costco and started making small apps with my kids. Made a little tug of war math game. That was fun. And then did a preschool game. And this is all 15 plus years ago. But you just have to go in and find something you're passionate about. What's preventing you from, for me, I want to spend time with my kids and spouse. So we did some of these things together. Had my kids do the voices. It's really cute. But they could kind of understand how projects were made and done. So it's good for them. But yeah, learn from others. Keep learning from others. One thing I kind of wish I would have been a little more proactive on in my last job was having a meetup, because we had a Slack channel, but we didn't cross-pollinate the ideas and stuff very well. There's no good meeting central thing for us to do that. So that's definitely something I think that's valuable. I remember when I worked for the LDS Church years ago, and we were doing MarkLogic. One team would do like a weekly learning and share all their knowledge, and one team wouldn't. I was on the team that didn't, and we learned a lot slower how to do the stuff than the other team did and share all their knowledge with each other. But most importantly, find where you add value to the process. This stuff's going to change. I don't know where it's going to end up. I don't think any of us do. But there's like, I think it was $1 trillion in OpenAI deals right now with all the different companies. So you're going to expect a lot of change, but where do we add value in the process of doing this? So you got to figure that out, and maybe it's going to change a little bit. So yeah, that's my presentation. Thanks for listening. Does anyone have any comments on that to this?
I think there are a lot of great points in here, John. I just listening to all these comments, and I agree with a lot of those, especially keeping up to date with AI or you'll get left behind, but also doing it in a smart way. I like what Jordan talked about with having your own plan that it can follow. I often have markdown files or a series of steps that I'm kind of guiding the route of progress, so that not only do I know what's been accomplished, but that I can stay on task. Because I have seen in a few months ago that when I was brand new to Cursor, I kind of let it go in a new language I wasn't familiar with, and it built so much stuff that it got off track. So having that plan that you're under control of, that you've got the context and the history, I think really helps guiding the AI tools. And I think it just helps you understand the new language, if it's a new language, and you can see where you've been and where you're going. Yeah, some really great ideas here.
Yeah, I've done more of the prototyping myself. So I wrote an app called TaskRace years ago. It was an old job one. I had my wife try to update it once, and that failed. It was too much. But it was before I really do a lot of good Android practices and stuff. And I rewrote the whole thing like really quickly for the parts I wanted, and then added more. Like I even integrate with ChatGPT on it to help you break down a project. But I'm doing more prototyping, and at some point I want to go back and kind of redo some of the UI stuff because it's not all that great. But I wasn't very specific with what I wanted. But I'm like, okay, go and integrate with ChatGPT. And it created this whole thing of these prompts that would send based on the settings you have. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. This thought of it 4 years ahead of me on this one. So sometimes it's good to just kind of let it go and see where it goes. But, you know, sometimes you need to rein it in a bit and tell it what to do. But yeah, I'm just amazed at how much it can do now. And have you guys integrated with any AIs yet?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
No, all yours.
Yeah, Nike, they've got at least a project that I'm on that iOS started first. There's I think they call it for the public Nike AI, where it's a conversational experience where you can, instead of the normal search, you can drop into the AI type search and have a conversation about what you're looking for in terms of a product, like a shoe or apparel. And it walks you through conversationally to find products that may match what you're looking for. And then it provides cards that can link you either to a category that fits what you're looking for, or even specific products that may match. So that's been an interesting exercise that we've been going through recently.
Yeah, interesting. And I love the context, like the ones that can remember all the context of what you've told it previously. But you have to watch it sometimes. So we were using it for meal prep one, and my wife looked at it and she said, well, if we prepare all the stuff on the weekend, it's going to be spoiled before we use it. And so I mentioned that to ChatGPT. Oh yeah, you're right. But this is where you have to audit things a bit, right? And make sure it's doing the right path. But yeah, it's so much faster. And what's this going to mean for people? I don't know. All right. Any other? Did you have something you wanted to add, Jordan?
I've done some with a bunch of local models and building an agentic system to write murder mystery type things.
Oh yeah.
So then you can basically have an AI generated murder mystery and then have it play all the NPCs, writing out different AI models, or not models, but prompts and personas. So you could then have a conversation with the NPCs while you try to solve this murder mystery. It was a lot of fun. It's a challenging problem. I wasn't able to get it to quite work the way I wanted it to. Now with newer models, hopefully I can do better. But limiting the power of the model you're using to get good enough results without either blowing the bank from a bunch of tokens or blowing the bank in hardware and memory, that's always a fun challenge.
Yeah. So I was talking to a state lawmaker, and he actually uses AI for a lot of stuff. He can generate. I think he was generating a podcast with it, like two personalities talking to each other. And he does his music and stuff, and does some of his tech stuff he does with that. But he said he bought his own chips and stuff. Oh my, you're way ahead of me on that. He's kind of a tech-minded person. Yeah, but I did see someone added a mod for a game where you could use AI conversations. It didn't work. I think he probably turned it off after it cost him too much money.
So speaking of Minecraft and mods, there's a Minecraft mod for hooking up to an AI to have it build things for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know the name of it?
No, I don't remember the name of it, but
I'll have to look at that. Okay, Spark AI, maybe.
I don't remember. My coworker built had it rebuild a sport arena in AI in Minecraft for him.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to build the 1000 Sunny from One Piece, and that's huge. But that'd be cool if you could just do, because on some of the, like people will make certain files in Minecraft for like basically a layout for a building or some structure, and then you can copy off that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember there was a computer craft mod. I don't know if you guys ever use that, where you actually could program in Lua and program these little turtles based on the old turtles, the old turtle logo system. That was pretty cool. All right. Well, so question for people here. How do we want to proceed then? And we can stop recording, Michael, if you want to. Looks like I lost Jordan. But how